Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Lewis Carlin. We're heard right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North, Instagram at Alliance PW Network, and feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Alrighty, what time is it? It's shout out time. It is shout out time. I want to give a shout out to Malcolm Lloyd and Joe Hosack. Malcolm Lloyd, Joe Hosack, thank you very much for purchasing a super thanks comment for our YouTube channel in support of our YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. Malcolm Lloyd, Joe Hosack, thank you very much for purchasing that super thanks comment in support of the YouTube channel, the Shooting Up North, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. And if you're looking to support the podcast, if you're enjoying the content, you're looking to support the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast somehow in a very inexpensive way, consider purchasing a super thanks comment. Depending on the location that you're in, I believe they start about $2 per comment. It's a super thanks comment. You get a fun animation added to the video that you purchased the comments for, and you get a colorful comment that you can add to that video as well. And of course, you will get a shout out from me here on the podcast as well. At the end of the podcast, you will get a credit at the end. There will be a credit page thanking you again with your name on it, and that will be the next pre-recorded podcast after you have left that super thanks. So if you want to leave the super thanks on each video, there's some icons under the video. You'll see a thanks icon. Just click on that thanks icon, and you could pick an amount. Again, it's I believe they started depending on where you the location that you're in or what country you live in. I believe they start about $2, very inexpensive. So again, if you want to support the podcast, feel free to purchase a super thanks comment. And of course, whether you do or you don't, I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Each and every one of you. Well, one more time, thank you, Malcolm Lloyd, Joe Hosack. Really, really appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into the Impact Wrestling review. Impact on AXS TV for August 18th, 2022. Let's get into it. So the show opens with a recap of Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander, their world title match at Emergence, their epic match at Emergence. So they open with a recap of that. The official show starts. We get the first match, which is a four-way dance between Black Taurus, Trey Miguel, Ray Horace, and Laredo Kid. So this is a lucha libre match, and the crowd chanting lucha libre throughout much of the match. But this was a great way to start the show. What a match this was. Some of the action that took place here. It starts. We get a triple drop kick early that knocks Black Taurus to the outside of the ring. Black Taurus comes in. He hits a succession of big moves on all three of them. Trey Miguel hits a Rana on Kid. Kid was standing on the outside of the ropes. A Laredo Kid. Trey Miguel comes running. He does just leaps up, wraps his legs around the head of Laredo Kid, spins around, does a Rana to the outside, and actually catapults Laredo Kid right into Black Taurus, who was on the outside as well. That was a great spot. Great spot there. Kid and Miguel, at one point, they're going shot for shot. Laredo Kid hits a reverse Rana on Taurus, which was a nice spot. Ray Horace, he does from the top rope, he does a backflip spin to the outside on Black Taurus and Trey Miguel. Kid hits a moonsault on all three as well, which was nice. So we had some great spots in this one. Great spots. The end came when Black Taurus hits the destination hellhole on Laredo Kid and wins the match. Black Taurus victorious in this one. But what a great way to open the show. My goodness. What a great way to open a show. This was a great lucha libre exhibition. What a fantastic match. It was crowd pleasing as they were into it. They were chanting lucha libre throughout the match. As I mentioned, lots of big spots as expected. I was expecting the big spots. I'm sure a lot of people were as well, and that's what we got here. Very exciting match. All four are so talented. The only thing is, I wish this match went on a little longer, but it was because the ending kind of came out of nowhere. It seemed it just came out of nowhere. He just got Laredo Kid and hit the destination hellhole. Is that what it's called? Yeah, destination hellhole, and it just seemed like he came out of nowhere. But I wish the match went a little longer. But again, it's the TV time that they have, so they have the. It's a shorter match. They only have so much time on TV. So this is the type of lucha libre wrestling match that Impact Wrestling should build on. This was fantastic, fantastic, fantastic lucha libre style match, and they should really build on this. They should. I want to see more of these matches. I want to see more of these matches. These types of matches are fantastic ways to open the show, and like I said, really crowd pleasing. The crowd was pumped. The crowd was into it. I was into it. I was in awe at some of the moves. So great way to open the show. Absolutely loved it. And excuse me. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little congested. I don't know why. Been congested for the last few days. But anyway, this was a great way to open the show. And I hope we see more of it. And I want to see a lot more of Ray Horus. Ray Horus is so smooth. You know, they're all so smooth. Black Tour is so talented. He was the powerhouse of the four. And I'm surprised this wasn't for the X Division Championship either. It would have been nice if the X Division title shot was on the line. This one, it would have made it that more intriguing. But nonetheless, we got a great opening match. Trey Miguel, terrific as usual. Laredo Kid, terrific as usual. And like I said, I want to see more of these lucha libre type matches. Then we get a look at Killer Kelly's debut match. As it's going on, Ziggy Dice, Johnny Swinger, Jackson Stone, Jason Hodge, and Jack Price are all watching Kelly's debut, and they're praising her. Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans show up. Tasha Steelz verbally lays into Swinger and Ziggy Dice, primarily Ziggy Dice, for showing praise to Killer Kelly. Killer Kelly then shows up. She gets into a verbal exchange with Steelz, but she makes her way towards Steelz, but Evans steps in front of Killer Kelly, and then we get the match set for later on. Killer Kelly against Savannah Evans later on the show. But one thing I want to bring up here: Jackson Stone, Jason Hodge, and Jack Price should not be with Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger. This is the future, the possible future of Impact Wrestling, and you're going to stick with them with two perennial losers. I'm sorry, I don't like to use that word, but they're perennial losers. They're a comedy team, and you want your future, you want the possible future of Impact Wrestling, possible future stars of Impact Wrestling to be brought in as a comedy trio with Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger. I think that was a bad move. First of all, I think Jackson Stone should have been in Impact Wrestling a long time ago. A long time ago. I mean, he won that. I don't want to get into it, but he won the gut check a long time ago, 2 years ago. He's still waiting for his spot, and then you have Jason Hodge and Jack Price, also with the latest gut check winners, and you're gonna put them with Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger. I mean, what are they doing? That's silly. That's totally silly. Why not have somebody else mentor them? Why not have like Moose mentors Jackson Stone and Jason Hodge, or you can have Rich Swann mentors all three of them, or something like that. Something a good wrestler to bring them in. Don't bring them in as jokes, right? This I don't. I just wasn't a fan to see that, and I can't recall. I don't think we've seen them with the two before. We might have. I just might have been. Maybe I missed it, but I think that was a mistake. I don't think Jackson Stone, Jason Hodge, Jack Price, the potential future of Impact Wrestling, should be brought in with Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger, perennial joke losers. I people like Johnny Swinger. They say he's entertaining, he's funny, great, but not don't bring in the possible future of Impact Wrestling and place him with Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger. That's the way. That's how I feel. How about bring Jason Hodge and Jackson and Jack Price in as a tag team? bring them in as a tag team, up and coming something different. Just not with Ziggly Dice and Johnny Swinger. That's a mistake. Okay, I don't want to talk about that too much. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I think I made my point. Then we have Josh Alexander and Rich Swann. They're talking backstage, and Alexander wants to face Swann. Wants Swann to win the number one contender match. He said he would like to face. Well, I don't know if he said he wants him to win, but he said he would like to face Swann. He would like to put his title up against Swann. Vincent shows up and says Eddie Edwards is going to become the number one contender, and then hints that Josh may want to join. Honor No More, just playing mind games with Josh Alexander. And so that was that segment. Then we go to match 2. Josh Alexander is not going to join Honor No More. They might be playing mind games, going back and forth a bit. But I think the mind games are going to stop now because we know who the number one contender is. We'll get into that later on in the review. But just play little mind games with Josh Alexander. He's not going to be joining Honor No More. But they're trying to play those mind games with the walking weapon. So match 2, Kenny King. Honor No More's Kenny King against Heath. Now Heath took out Kenny King at Emergence. And so we have Kenny King and Heath going 1-on-1 here. So this match, actually, I wasn't really looking forward to. But it wasn't a bad match. It wasn't that bad. The way I say that is I think Kenny King is extremely talented, and I think they should push him as an X Division title contender. Just not a big fan of Heath in Impact Wrestling. I'm just not a big fan of Heath. Not a big fan. I understand Honor No More took out Rhino, so he's trying to get revenge on Rhino, one member of Honor No More at a time, by showing up and taking one out at a time. But I'm just not the biggest fan of Heath. So, but Kenny King hit some nice moves here. He hits a corkscrew, dive to the outside on Heath. King hits a blockbuster on Heath as well. But Heath in trouble makes the babyface comeback. He hits a neck breaker for 2. Heath hits the wake up call. Eventually hits the wake up call for the win. But then Honor No More comes out, surrounds the ring. They all attack Heath. They beat him down. Then Eddie Edwards wants PCO to finish off Heath. PCO wasn't participating in the beatdown. He was just off to the side. And Eddie Edwards wants PCO to finish off Heath, but he's reluctant. He delays. Heath gets up and he hits a wake up call on Mike Bennett and escapes the ring. And Eddie Edwards looks pissed. So more of an indication that PCO will be either kicked out of the group, or will be leaving the group, or will be leaving Impact Wrestling. But I think I think we could expect a babyface turn from PCO. I'm kind of thinking at Bound for Glory. We'll see or a little after Bound for Glory, and I'll tell you why at the end of the review. The match, like I said, the match itself was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. I'm talking about Heath and Kenny King. But we know after watching the match, the purpose of this match was to continue the PCO turning babyface storyline. So that was the whole purpose of this match. But Kenny King, so talented, I think he should be an Impact X Division contender without a doubt. I think him and Mike Bailey could light it up 1-on-1. Then in the back, we got Sabin, Shelley, and Kushida. Then we got a segment with them. Next week, we find out that they will take on Violent by Design. So it will be Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Kushida taking on Eric Young, Diener, and Joe Doring next week. Then Honor No More backstage segment. They're on a staircase somewhere in the back. Bennett and Taven confront after they speak for a bit, and then Bennett and Taven leave. They walk through a door, and Scott D'Amore happens to be right there. They confront Scott D'Amore. They say they want their title shot, but Scott D'Amore says Dr. and Dr. Ross says Dr. Ross makes a decision here. Dr. Ross says Luke Gallows has to heal for a few weeks. So Doc Gallows is not able to compete for a few weeks as per Dr. Ross. So no Doc Gallows, Dr. Ross orders. No Doc Gallows. So Scott D'Amore then says, you know what? Next week I'll make Carl Anderson versus Mike Bennett And if Anderson wins, then Maria Kanellis will be banned from ringside because Scott D'Amore is kind of getting pissed off at the two. So he makes the match, and then he adds a stipulation: if Anderson wins, Maria Kanellis will be banned from ringside when Matt Taven and Mike Bennett challenge Gallows and Anderson for the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championship. And there is no doubt in my mind that Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, with Kanellis or without Kanellis out there, will become the next Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. No doubt in my mind. I think Lone Star Stampede will be the final appearance of the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling. They've already booked for a number of New Japan Pro Wrestling shows in September. So I do believe Lone Star Stampede will be the final appearance of the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling. And there's no doubt in my mind Taven and Bennett take titles from them. That match is actually, you know what's funny though? You know what's funny? The match has already been booked. The match has been booked for Lone Star Stampede. The match has been booked, but on TV it hasn't really been booked yet. But they've announced that Impact Wrestling social media actually announced that the tag team a match will take place. The title match will take place at Lone Star Stampede. But as per TV, it hasn't been made official yet. And they have a tendency of doing that too. Like they announce Impact Wrestling does that quite often. Like they'll announce a match on social media. They'll announce a match on social media, and then like for example, well for example, one segment on this show, which happened a little later, but I'll talk about it now. One segment was Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace is being interviewed by Gia Miller about Masha Slamovich, Diona Purrazzo, Chelsea Green come out. They're the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Champions. They verbally go at it with Grace. Mia Yim shows up, and she gets involved in the verbal exchange. And then we find out next week, Mia Yim challenges Purrazzo and Green to defend the Impact Knockouts Tag titles against Jordan Grace and Mia Yim. And so that match is made official for next week on this week's TV show. But the match was actually announced, like, I think a week ago, or it was announced over a week ago. You know, as one of the matches that are going to be part of these TV tapings. So the match has already been announced on the social media, but they're making their match official now on TV. So the match hasn't been announced on TV. You know what I'm saying? So the match isn't announced on TV yet, but it's been announced on social media. So like, there's no surprise. Like, you know, the match is going to happen, but they have to put it together anyway on TV. You know, they have a tendency of doing that. You know, announcing a match, but they don't make it official on TV just yet. But even though you know the match is happening, you know, again, Gallows and Anderson are going to be defending at Lone Star Stampede, and match is made official, but you have Bennett and Taven on TV asking for the match to be made already when it's already been made. Well, I guess you could say this is the TV taping, so they weren't aware that it was made. Okay, you could that could be the argument as well, that this is a TV taping. They weren't aware that the match has been made. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. But and also they're probably trying to sell tickets as well to Lone Star Stampede. So that would be another reason. So okay, so that, no, when I think about it now, it kind of makes a little sense. It kind of makes a little sense to announce a match, you know, to announce the match for a show, but let it all come together on TV. But anyway, let's get into a third match, which was Killer Kelly versus Savannah Evans. I thought this was going to be a squash match for Killer Kelly, but it wasn't. Evans got in some nice offense. So early on, Savannah Evans actually grabs Kelly by the throat. And Kelly just smiles, takes Evans' other hand and puts it on her throat as well, and smiles. And the crowd popped for this. The crowd loved Killer Kelly. They were just chanting Killer Kelly throughout the match. Yeah, Savannah Evans gets in some decent offense in this one. So it wasn't really a squash match. I thought it was going to be one, but Kelly eventually catches Evans in the killer clutch, and Evans has no choice but to tap out. So this match was exactly what I thought it was supposed. This match was exactly what it was supposed to be. A big win for Killer Kelly, um, and to set up Killer Kelly versus Tasha Steelz. So Tasha Steelz was out on ringside watching throughout the entire match. So that's basically what it was, setting up Kelly against Tasha Steelz. Killer Kelly is a terrific addition to the Impact Wrestling roster. I love her character. I love her re-entrance. So happy that Killer Kelly is in Impact Wrestling, and I'm expecting big things from Killer Kelly. Killer Kelly, Tasha Steelz, probably going to happen at Victory Road, but I'm glad they're putting her up against top contender. It's not made official yet, but I think that's where they're going. But I'm glad Killer Kelly's getting some big wins right off the bat here over Savannah Evans, and then I think next opponent for her will be Tasha Steelz. Next big opponent for her will be Tasha Steelz. Then we have Jessica, Rosemary, and Taya backstage segment. Jessica says that she has a match next week, and Rosemary is not happy about it, but Jessica is very happy. She's all giddy and giggly, and I'm not a fan of this Jessica character. You know, it's just Su Yung doing Susie. Only it's Jessica Havoc doing Jessica. So I'm not. It's just Havoc doing Jessica. So I'm not. It worked with Su Yung. Su Yung was able to pull it off. Jessica Havoc's not pulling it off, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of it. It's just a redo of Su Yung becoming Susie. So not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. But she has her first match. Jessica has her debut match next week. In the character, Jessica has her debut match next week, and really looking forward to that one. All right, then we spoke about Jordan Grace already being interviewed. Then match 4. And I apologize for being congested today, guys. I sincerely apologize. Sorry about that. The match 4, we have Mike Bailey and Speedball Mike Bailey defending the X Division Championship against Bullet Club's Chris Bey. Now, this match, I'm not going to talk much about this match, but I am going to say that this match was freaking spectacular. This match was so damn spectacular. It starts out with a feeling out process between the two to start. Bailey hits a drop kick, knocking Bey to the outside. Some more moves that took place, some more action. Bey hits a springboard DDT on Bailey. Chris Bey hits a double stomp. He's on the top turnbuckle. Chris Bey. Mike Bailey is lying on the ropes. Chris Bey hits a double stomp while Mike Bailey is lying on the top rope. It's a double stomp on Mike Bailey. And that was an amazing move. And there was some other just fantastic moves, some fantastic back and forth action in this one. And eventually Bailey hits the ultimate weapon on Chris Bey for the win. But as I said, this match was just spectacular. Just freaking spectacular. Bey and Bailey, I said I wasn't going to spend too much time on it because it was so good, and just by calling it spectacular would be enough. But let's talk about it for a little bit. Bey and Bailey, two immensely talented wrestlers. This was an epic match. I mean, this was Thursday. Bailey has this epic match against Chris Bey, and also on Thursday he had an epic match against Jacob Fatu for West Coast Pro. Of course, the West Coast Pro one was live. This was taped, but Thursday was a 2 epic match night for Speedball Mike Bailey. But the only thing I don't like about this one, like the first match, it was too short. It was too short. But again, TV time. They only have so much on TV. You really believe that we may see a title change in this one? I thought, well, we could. It was believable that a title change might be coming, but Bailey, of course, victorious. Bailey's run as X Division champion has been absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He's absolutely killing it as the X Division champion, and I hope we see a rematch because this match was pure fire. It was absolutely epic. Highly recommended. It was probably the best TV match of the week from any promotion. And I don't watch the WWE, so maybe it's not fair of me to say that, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. I think this was the best match of the week, TV match of the week from any promotion. This was just Just fantastic. Absolutely love this match. Again, it should have been a little longer, and I hope we see a rematch. Then we have Brian Myers running into Bapinda Gujar backstage. Gujar says Myers is not done with him, which means we're probably going to get another match between Brian Myers and Bhupinder Gujar. Not Gujar. Gujar. I want to get his name right. Sorry. So next week we have Vex versus Mia Yim and Jordan Grace for the Impact Knockouts Tag Team titles. We got Jessica's debut. Will be, and then we have Violent by Design taking on Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Kushida, which should be a fantastic match as well. Then we go into the main event. The main event is a six-way elimination match. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. It's a six-way elimination match. Six-way elimination match to determine the number one contender for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. We have Eddie Edwards versus Moose versus Steve Macklin versus Sami Callihan versus Rich Swann versus Bandito. So let's just talk about some of the moves that happened this one, some of the action in this match, and then we'll talk about my thoughts on it. So Swann and Bandito start and have a nice even exchange. Later on, Moose and Macklin tag each other in back and forth as they work on Rich Swann. Sami Callihan is in later on, and he takes out Moose and Macklin. Moose spears Sami Callihan for the win, for the pin. So Sami Callihan is eliminated. And then Macklin, Moose's partner in crime. They join forces against Callihan. Steve Macklin rolls up Moose for 3. So Moose is eliminated by Steve Macklin. Moose is pissed. Moose is furious. He pushes Steve Macklin, and but yeah. So Macklin eliminates Moose, and then I think Callihan came in and attacked Macklin, and but eventually Macklin was taken out by Bandito. Bandito, a dive to the outside. Oh yeah, Macklin's on the outside. Callihan is fighting with Macklin and Moose. Bandito dives to the outside of Macklin, puts Macklin back into the ring, hits a 21 plex on Steve Macklin, gets the pin, and Macklin is eliminated. Bandito hits a Spanish fly on Swann for 2. Swann hits a Phoenix Splash on Bandito, but Eddie Edwards comes in, throws Swann out of the ring, hits a Boston Knee Party on Bandito for the pin. So Bandito is eliminated, and the crowd was not happy, and neither was I. But we're going to get more into that. So after a few minutes of great back and forth action that could have gone either way, Eddie Edwards eliminates Rich Swann and becomes the number one contender for Josh Alexander's Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. There was one point actually hit. This is the second. What had happened was Eddie Edwards hit a Boston Knee Party on Rich Swann. I thought that was the end of it, but actually Swann kicked out, and then he comes back with a diehard driver. Edwards hit the diehard driver on Swann for the win, and then that's how he eliminated Rich Swann and becomes number one contender. Arnold Moore comes in. They carry Edwards around the ring in celebration. So this match was a fun one. I really enjoyed it, especially the final few minutes between Swann and Edwards. Again, it could have gone either way. It was very, very exciting to watch the final few minutes with Swann and Edwards. And also we got to set up now of a possible breakup. I could see them. Why would they remain together? Moose and Macklin no longer teaming up together. They still have a common enemy in Sami Callihan, but I think now the trust is no longer there between the two. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm not super excited about Edwards becoming the number one contender. I understand. I believe Alexander mentioned that he's never faced. I think it was on my podcast. I'm pretty sure, but I'll have to go back and double check. But I'm pretty sure he said that he's never faced Edwards before, and that's an opponent that he would like to face. But I know Edwards is Impact Wrestling. Uh, I don't want to say Impact Wrestling mainstay. He's been there for quite some time. Big name in Impact Wrestling. So it kind of makes sense that Eddie Edwards becomes number one contender, especially with the Honor No More they're pushing as the top faction in Impact Wrestling. But the fans in attendance and myself wanted Bandito. I wanted Bandito to win this one. I don't know. Bandito versus Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory for me sounds a lot better than Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards. That's just me. I hope we see Bandito, a lot more Bandito in Impact Wrestling. The crowd was just chanting Bandito's name. He was the most over in the match. They're just chanting his name because it's a new face. It's a new face that they're seeing now. Instead of the just the originals, Moose, the usuals, I should say, not the original, the usual talent that they see. They had Edwards, Moose, Macklin, Callahan, Rich Swan, but then you had Bandito, who was a new fresh face. So they were rooting, they were chanting Bandito. They wanted Bandito to win, and I wanted Bandito to win. And like I said, I think Bound for Glory would have been a lot more exciting if it was Josh Alexander versus Bandito. But that's how I feel. That's my feeling on it. But not taking anything away from Eddie Edwards. I'm sure we're gonna get a great match at Bound for Glory. Maybe they'll do something where Bandito earns a shot at Victory Road. But even if they don't, like Alexander versus Bandito, Alexander defeating Bandito, who's a Lucha Libre AAA superstar, international superstar, former Ring of Honor world champion. Would have been a great win for Josh Alexander to further cement himself as one of the best wrestlers in the world by defeating an international superstar like Bandito. So that'd be another reason why I would rather see Alexander and Bandito at Bound for Glory. But I'm not calling the shots. I'm not calling the shots. So by getting Eddie Edwards and Josh Alexander are Bound for Glory, I don't see Eddie Edwards winning that match. I see the odds stacked against Josh Alexander. But I was talking about PCO earlier. I think PCO is gonna cost Eddie Edwards the match in this one, or I don't know more is going to come in and they're going to gang up on Josh Alexander, and then PCO is going to come in. It's going to come in and make the save, or he's going to be in the ring and he's going to see what's going on, get tired of it, and turn on Honor No More and help Josh Alexander defeat Eddie Edwards. So that's what I see happening at Bound for Glory. I can see something like that happening at Bound for Glory. But anyway, it was a great show. Rating it from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. This was an 8.6. 8.6. And this being a great show, I saw the viewership, only 92,000 people. They only had 92,000 viewers to watch this show. So 92,000 viewers, and everyone else in the crowd got to see an amazing professional wrestling show. Got to see an amazing 2 hours of professional wrestling, and that's exactly what it was. An amazing amazing hour and a half of professional wrestling. Impact Wrestling. Brian Hebner actually on his podcast, Reffing It Up with RJ, did indicate that before he left that Impact Wrestling was looking for a new home. I think he said they were under negotiations with other networks, and I'll tell you, if they get to a bigger network, if they go ahead and do that, I didn't think they would do that because the owner of AXS TV owns I'm sorry, Anthem owns AXS TV and Impact Wrestling, so it only made sense that Impact will be on AXS. But if they could look for a new home and they can get on a bigger channel with a channel that gets to more people, a bigger reach, I think, and people start watching Impact Wrestling, I think the ratings are going to go up considerably, because right now Impact Wrestling is the best wrestling show on TV today. Yeah, I'm saying it. People are going to disagree with me, but I don't care. Impact Wrestling is the best professional wrestling show on TV. Week in and week out, they deliver big time. There's nothing that you can watch on AEW. There's nothing you can watch on WWE. There's nothing you can watch on MLW. There's nothing you can watch on NWA that would match, that would even come close to Speedball Mike Bailey against Chris Bey, what we saw on this week. So and all the other matches on there as well. So Impact Wrestling is the best wrestling show on TV today, hands down, my opinion. And if I could get to another channel with a broader reach that reaches more people, and more people start watching it, more people are gonna get are gonna want to watch it week in and week out. More people are going to enjoy it. More people are going to realize how great Impact Wrestling is. So I'm hoping that they do find a bigger channel to get to, because, like I said, once they get to a bigger channel and more people start watching it and more people start discovering it, more people are going to become fans. So Impact Wrestling, let's get to a bigger channel. All right, so we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed the review. Sorry, just a little stuffed up today, so I do apologize again. But I'm watching the news. Anything breaks, I'll be back. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye, and stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.